Her name was Eutychus. It means fortunate in Greek. She was anything but. She woke up every morning in ancient Rome, one of the most powerful civilizations in human history. And the first thing she felt when she opened her eyes was the cold weight of iron around her neck. Not a necklace, not jewelry, a collar, riveted shut permanently, with an inscription that read, "And I want you to hear this clearly. Hold me, lest I flee. Return me to my master." She couldn't even read what it said. That is where we begin. Let's start from the very beginning, because Eutychus didn't choose this. Nobody did. In ancient Rome, around 25 to 30% of the entire population were slaves. 1 in every 3 or 4 people you passed on the street, owned by someone else. And you could end up there in so many ways it was terrifying. Maybe you were born into it. If your mother was a slave, you were a slave. Automatically, from your first breath, the moment you came into the world, you were already someone's property. Maybe your family fell into debt. Maybe your father sold you. Maybe Roman soldiers marched through your village and took you. Maybe pirates grabbed you off a ship. And this happened so often that wealthy Romans lived in genuine fear of being kidnapped at sea. One day, you were a free person with a family and a home. The next day, you were standing on an auction block in the Forum, next to the Temple of Castor, while men walked around you, checking your teeth like you were a horse. They didn't buy your skills. They didn't buy your personality. They bought your body. And from that moment, everything that body did, everything it produced, every hour of every day it was awake, belonged to someone else. So what did Eutychus's day actually look like? She woke before sunrise, not because she wanted to, because if she didn't, there were consequences. She swept floors, she fetched water, she cooked, she cleaned, she served at banquets, standing completely still, invisible, while wealthy Romans ate food she would never taste, drank wine she was not allowed to touch, and laughed at jokes she was not allowed to respond to. The philosopher Seneca, one of the more humane Romans, actually wrote about what he witnessed at elite dinner parties. A single word was spoken out of turn, a beating. Not a threat of a beating, an actual beating, right there at the table, in front of everyone, as entertainment. And here's the thing that makes it worse. Under Roman law, a slave was not a person, not legally, not officially. She was property, like a chair, like a pot, like a dog. She could not own anything, could not sign anything, could not testify in court unless she was tortured first. If her master decided tomorrow that he wanted to sell her partner, her child, her closest friend, he could. Roman law was very clear. A female slave's body was her master's property, not just her labor, her body. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius actually wrote in his private journal, his personal diary, that he was proud of himself for not taking sexual advantage of 2 of his household slaves. And if Eutychus was considered particularly beautiful, her situation became even more dangerous, not safer, because her master might decide she was worth more as a source of income than as a household worker. Roman law made it entirely legal to take your slave to a brothel and charge men for access to her. The master kept the money, Eutychus kept the collar. Now you might be thinking, why didn't she just run? Some of them did. Professional slave catchers, called fugitivari, patrolled the ports, the markets, the roads. They had your description. They had a financial incentive to find you. If you were caught, you were brought back. And then came the punishment. Flogging first. That was standard. Then the branding iron, pressed to your forehead with the letters FUG for fugitivus, runaway, so that every person who ever looked at you for the rest of your life would know what you had tried to do and failed. Or, if your master was feeling merciful, the collar, riveted shut around your neck for life. The iron ring of the Zoninus collar, one of the real surviving artifacts from Rome, carries an inscription that still exists today in a museum in Rome. It reads, "I have run away. Catch me. If you return me to my master Zoninus, you will receive a gold coin." The slave couldn't read it, didn't know what it said, walked around Rome wearing their own capture notice on their own neck, and this collar, this specific one, is the only one that offered a reward. Most didn't even bother, because really, who was going to help the slave? There was one real escape, one official, legal path out of slavery in Rome. It was called manumission, your master choosing to free you. Some masters did. Some slaves earned freedom. Some were freed in a master's will after his death. But here's how that worked for Eutychus. If she was freed, she became a freedwoman. Which sounds like freedom, except that she was still bound by law to perform services for her former master, still under his legal authority in many matters, still ranked at the very bottom of Roman society. She couldn't hold public office, couldn't vote in elections that actually mattered, couldn't escape the social mark of having been a slave. And if she had a child while enslaved, that child remained the property of her former master unless he chose otherwise. Freedom in Rome was not a clean line. It was a long rope, and someone else was still holding the other end. Rome built the Colosseum. Rome built the aqueducts. Rome built roads that still exist today, and it built all of it on the backs of people like Eutychus, a woman whose name meant fortunate, who woke up every morning with iron around her neck, who cooked food she wasn't allowed to eat, cleaned houses she didn't own, built an empire she'd never benefit from, and when she tried to run, because of course she tried, the entire weight of the most powerful civilization on Earth came down to bring her back. History remembers Rome for its glory. It forgets to mention who paid for it.